was like a scene out of a movie, a brazen daylight heist at one of the most famous museums in the world as thieves made off with priceless crown jewels from the Louvre in Paris on Sunday.
Happened in just minutes. Police say four masked men arriving around 9:30 in the morning, just a half hour after the famous Paris museum opened. They began setting up a truck with the ladder and a basket at the south side of the building. Two of the thieves then rose up to a balcony near the famed Apollo Gallery using disc cutters to break in. Heist only taken 7 minutes before the suspects escaped, fleeing on scooters.
What's up? Welcome back to the show. We have got a big show for you today. We got to talk about the heist that the famous jewel thieves that are yet to be caught pulled off this week on the Louvre. They went in there and stole some jewelry from the Napoleonic era. I seen some reports on like AP that said it was about $1 million. And then I saw other reports that said it was only $800,000. They also found one of the crowns discarded in a gutter nearby after the criminals, the jewel thieves, just like out of a movie, took off on mopeds. Yes, how much more French could you get than that? I can't lie, it's a little bit impressive. It's kind of cool. And the fact that they actually got away with this. So they managed to sneak into the Louvre. They used one of those cherry pickers. They were dressed up, I guess, like workers. They were masked. So they covered their faces. They climbed up in the window, broke one of the windows, ran through the halls, got these crown jewels, and then they escaped. And in all but 7 minutes. That's pretty impressive. And they did it right as the Louvre was opening to the public. Of course, they shut down the Louvre after that as well. And people are furious. But I kind of think it's a little bit cool. I also like the idea that that sort of thing can still occur. Maybe France is a little behind the times on the surveillance game. And I always see that as a plus. I'd rather have more criminals get away with things than all of us live in a surveillance state where you couldn't get away with dropping a pin.
The thieves made off with 8 pieces of the historic crown jewels, all of which are considered priceless, as many previously belonged to one of King Napoleon's wives in the 1800s.
I mean, France can't catch a break. Their government keeps collapsing, and now their Louvre gets robbed.
Thanks, Todd. They're not the biggest law and order place as well. I think this is clearly professionals when you have someone that can do it in 7 minutes and then no one gets harmed in the process. You're right. They're probably going to sell them on they don't even have to cut it up for them to sell it on the black market. A lot of people in the black market will take it as is. Some foreign government will take it as is. That was probably on a ship within probably 10 hours, and it's probably in another country already.
I think they should personally give the black guy more airtime to discuss crime. That seems like that would be, more suited to his demographic. Here's a picture of some of the jewels that were stolen. You can see all of this, absolutely stunning. But down here in the yellow vest, this is a screenshot from a video that a visitor took while they were in there. And that was actually the person breaking into the safe. And I guess they didn't feel the need to alert anyone. But that's the thing. When you live in a civilized, society, you don't really expect this thing to happen. You're just there on vacation. You're visiting the museum. You're never thinking in a million years that you're going to witness a heist. So it's understandable. Before we move on to some other footage of this heist, it only makes sense that we look into who was head of security. This woman right here. This is Dominique Buffon, the recently appointed head of security at the Louvre in Paris prior to the heist. Well, now, isn't that interesting? I'm sure there's no correlation. I'm sure this organized gang didn't decide, you know what? They just recently appointed a woman to be head of security because that's women's strong suit. I think now is an opportune time. I think now is the time to strike. So I'm surprised that beyond users on X, no one is mentioning this. I'm not really seeing this in news articles or whatever, but that should come as no surprise to anyone that a woman was head of the security. You saw how well they did when Trump was shot at. His female security guards, if you can call them that, it was pretty embarrassing optics. Just leave it there. Here's some footage of the heist. This is actually, somebody took this on their phone I don't know what they were thinking, but they saw this and they filmed it and they were like, oh, that's odd.
Intérieur du musée du Louvre.
Fameux gilet jaune.
Regardez cette vidéo.
Okay, so that was actually one of the thieves breaking into the safe, which of course set off the alarms. It set off the alarms whenever they broke into the initial window, and then the alarms were also off during the time of cracking in there. So in 7 minutes, in 7 whole minutes, with alarms blaring, no one was able to apprehend them. Another thing of interest was there was a massive diamond right there. It was like huge. That was sitting right there, and they didn't grab that. So people are speculating now, well, maybe that was like a fake that they put out to display just to not risk it. And here's some footage. This is kind of funny. These are some tourists who were there when this was going down.
To all of France, so I knew something was up because of the way they swept the whole museum.
But it's great. This is our last day of a long trip, and this is the most exciting part today.
Okay, so that's a little recap of the heist that went on in France in one of the most famous museums in the world, with a female that was head of security, newly appointed head of security. So it should surprise nobody that that's when the thieves decided to strike. And you got to hand it to them. That was quite clever. Before we move on to another subject, I saw this rumor has been going around. I don't know how much validity it has to it, but this is a theory that's running around. Justin, French authorities have found a Russian passport next to the recently robbed Louvre Museum in Paris. A deliberate act of war by Putin. Please. Really? It's like, sometimes, guys, at least try to make it a little bit more believable. It's like in 9/11 when they, careened into the buildings with the plane and everything exploded. Magically, the passport of one of the assailants, one of the terrorists, magically managed to escape the plane, escape the flames and the conflagration, and flutter down to the ground unharmed, where it was able to be collected. I'm getting the same energy from this Russia connection. This is an act of war, really? Are you serious? And here is Macron's statement about all of this. The theft committed at the Louvre is an attack on a heritage that we cherish because it is our history. Well, Macron, if you care about your history and your heritage, maybe worry less about crown jewels being stolen and worry more about your whole country being stolen with illegal immigrants that you keep allowing to flow in, which are stealing your heritage and destroying your country. We will recover the works and the perpetrators will be brought to justice. Everything is being done everywhere to achieve this under the leadership of the Paris prosecutor's office. Macron, you should consider upping your security to males only. I don't think females are good in these sorts of positions. And again, if we are wanting to talk about preserving your heritage, a great way to start is to not bring in third worlders from other countries who want to destroy your heritage and change your culture. So I would have that be my biggest priority. Jewels can be recovered, your country cannot. So that's my statement to Macron, as he is furious about this, but he should be more furious at the female head of security who allowed people with alarms blaring to steal this and get away with it while they were in there for 7 whole minutes. I mean, even when people call the police when there's an incident, police generally get there between 4 to 2 minutes. So you're in the building, guys. What's going on?